How to recession-proof your dealership. That's what we're talking about today on Better Dealerships.
And we'll be covering lots more news, views, tips, and tricks to help you sell more cars.
I'm Travis Miller.
And I'm Jimmy V.
And this is the show that helps you build a better dealership. All right, Jimmy, let's jump into some news items to kick this episode off. Saw something interesting just today. Cox Media Group has privately admitted to developing an active listening software, which it uses to eavesdrop on users' private conversations to better target customers.
I mean, I think we all have had that scenario where you're talking to someone, your phone's hanging around. Next thing you know, you pick up your phone, you go to the internet, and bang, what you've been talking about is on your phone. It's eerily surprising. The phone actually is listening to me.
Yeah, it's creepy,
knows what
right?
I'm talking about. It's very creepy. It can creep you out.
But they've been saying that it doesn't happen. They've been denying it.
They have.
But in an investor's report that Cox Media Group put out, they actually spilled the beans about the technology and were kind of bragging about it. And by the way, I'm not taking a position on whether it's good or bad. That's up for each individual person to think about. As far as I'm concerned, I know, it's an extreme advantage to marketers.
All right. I mean, being marketers, I can appreciate the opportunity that provides.
Right. What I find interesting about the story is just that it's like reveals, what we have suspected. Now, we know for sure that this technology exists. Now, interestingly, that the story about this said that other big technology groups like Google and Apple and Amazon were like distancing themselves from Cox Media Group after they made this announcement, sort of like trying, I guess, denying that they're engaged in this. I don't know. And I'd be curious to know whether or not Cox regrets putting this, after this news story broke, whether or not Cox regrets putting this in their investors report. But either way, it's out there and kind of confirms the suspicions that we had. And it'll be interesting to see how this technology unfolds, both, from a regulation standpoint, but also from, a marketing usability standpoint, because the big argument for it is that this allows marketers to bring hyper-relevant ads to customers, which theoretically should create a better media experience for customers.
Well,
right?
And, I think that is one of the positives, is that it does bring better ads to the consumers. And advertising is not bad when it's relevant and direct. It's bad when it's interruptive and not relevant, right? So this actually makes ads more relevant. Of course, with all of the ways they do this technology, the actual privacy of the individual is really not broached, because, you're looking at digital IDs and not personal information and this and that. Now, of course, I don't know the full technology. I'm sure there's maybe some way to reverse engineer all of that stuff, and you then get into problems. But that, this really is a privacy versus opportunity debate. And, if you're someone who likes ads served up that match what you're thinking about and what you're looking for, this is great technology. I don't think this is the first people using this technology, because we've seen this before. And I know that they're also not distancing themselves in a way that this is not going to be used any longer either. I can tell you that for sure. Yeah. So it's unique. Tell us what you think about this technology. Yeah. Is this something that creeps you out? Is this something that you enjoy? Are you glad you have access to this information and this technology? We'd love to hear what your guys think about it.
Yeah, let us know. Now, there's another news item we wanted to take a look at, and this comes out of CDK, which has been tracking. Let's see, they've tracked how easy car buyers say it is to purchase a car. And they've been doing this tracking for 2 years. And last month, the overall metric for how easy it was to buy a car hit its highest point ever, meaning the higher it is, the easier it is, right? And overall reached 93%. So 93% of respondents said it was easy to buy a new car, compared to just 88% the month before that and 82% the same month prior year. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So things are improving, is what that says.
Or dealers are getting better at making it easy for customers to buy cars.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's really a combination. When things get challenging, they can get better, right? And that can make it easier. But also we as dealers, and this is what we're always talking about in our group with our dealers, how can we take the circumstances that we've been given and do a better job serving the customer? How do we solve these problems that are not necessarily caused by us or the result of anything we've done, but still, these are the problems we have to deal with. These are the problems that are facing our customers. How do we alleviate some of these problems? And as we get better at dealing with these problems and adapting to the current situation, we become better at delivering the results and help for our clients and customers. And that's really what we're supposed to be doing as dealers, because our belief, Travis, is that being a car dealer and being in the dealership business is about being people first. It's about being a solutions provider and helping people buy a car that they want. So that if that's what you're doing, then you're doing the right thing. If you're focusing on the product and the price, then you're really focused on the wrong thing, because this isn't the car manufacturing business. This is the car dealership business, and that is a people business.
Well, I think that makes a really good point, in that this metric really measures something that shows, basically it's like an indicator of being a better dealership. Like a better dealership is a dealership where it's easy to do business, right? They did break it down into some categories that I thought were interesting. And one interesting point that I noticed is that the categories are all lower than the overall score. So the overall score was 93% said it was easy, but then when they got more specific, 72% of people said finding the vehicle they hoped to purchase was easy. 68% said discussing and agreeing on a final price was easy. 66% said applying for credit was easy. And then the lowest score of the bunch was agreeing on trade-in value was 57%. That sort of indicates perhaps an opportunity to reduce friction in the process. And think about this at your store. Like, are customers finding getting agreeing on trade-in value to be easy, or is it a difficult process? Let us know what you think.
Yeah, love to hear it. Hey T, it's that time where we share a better resource, something that helps make our dealers' lives more ESP, enjoyable, simple, and prosperous. So let's talk about it. Let's give up the goods. Right now we're talking about Carnivore Snacks. For a business show, talking about food seems maybe a little bit out of place. But if you think about it, the car business, people work long, grueling days. And we know that guys... You got to fuel up.
You do have to fuel up.
You got to fuel up.
People skip lunch breaks, or eat cheeseburgers at their desk, or have a meal out of the vending machine. And a lot of people these days are trying to get, better shape and trying to drop some weight and want to feel better about themselves. And some of those people have found that something like the carnivore diet works for them, where they're eating primarily meat. And so if you have any guys or women at your dealership who are like that, or if you're like that yourself, this is a really cool resource, because these are basically like chips, except they're 100% meat.
2 ingredients, meat and salt. It's almost like beef jerky, but it's not, doesn't have the texture of beef jerky. It's more of a texture of a chip.
Yeah, it's very thin and lightweight.
You can eat it. You can eat it quickly. You can snack on them all day, and they're very healthy for you. If you're not opposed to eating meat, which we're not, check out Carnivore Snacks. They're delicious, and they can help you get through the day with lots of energy, and that's what you need.
By the way, if you're enjoying this episode, just a quick reminder to press the like button and subscribe to the channel for useful tips, and also turn on the notifications so you never miss a future episode.
And if you have a friend in the business, be a thought leader. Send this to them. We'd really appreciate it, and they would too.
It's time for today's big idea: how to recession-proof your dealership. Jimmy, we've been talking about recession-proofing dealerships now for nearly 20 years. When we first started talking about it at the end of 2005, I remember, was the first time we brought this topic up. And people thought we were a little bit crazy back then. Like, what are you talking about, recession? Like, there's no recession.
Yeah. And we were talking about this so much that we made an entire course, an entire training course on how to recession-proof your dealership back then.
Yeah, it was hugely popular, and we spoke to dealers all over the country at at the big conferences and everything, and always on this topic of recession-proofing dealerships. And we really boiled it down to three critical steps to recession-proofing any dealership. We'll give you those steps here momentarily.
I mean, it's important, obviously, because there is. Some people might say that there is a looming possibility of a recession, or some might say that we're in a recession right now. And regardless of whether we're in, approaching, or far away from a recession, this idea of being recession-proof, being impervious to downturn because of the actions that you take, that is a critical idea and one that any dealership can benefit from at any time.
Well said. And that's just it. Like, there's never a wrong time to recession proof. It's sort of like preparing for a storm, really. It's exactly what it is. Like you should prepare for a storm as early as possible, because once the storm is there, it's really too late to prepare.
This is like having that food that lasts 100 years in your garage sitting on the shelf just in case,
Yeah, like stock up on ramen.
That's right, yeah.
So, okay, look, to recession-proof your dealership, you might be wondering, and by the way, there really are a million ways to do this. We wanted to boil it down to three things because...
three big items that are the key drivers.
Exactly. And the big secret ultimately is owning your lead flow. And most dealerships have, I'll say, made the mistake of turning
relinquish the control.
Yeah, relinquishing the control. That's
lead
exactly
flow.
Right. Mostly to third-party vendors. And in a recession, as consumer confidence falters, right, the number of active shoppers drops significantly. And if you rely on getting your slice of the active shoppers through a third-party lead source, then your leads and traffic will dry up really, really quickly in a recession.
Well, not only that, if the only source of leads that you have is active shoppers, and those active shoppers come through third-party lead sites, then you're in double trouble, because not only do you have a normal pie that is shrinking because active shoppers shrink during a recession or during tough times, but not only that, you're beholden to someone else who is deciding how much they're spending to generate those active shoppers and who they're doling those active shoppers out to. And so all of that becomes outside of your control, and you become just, a person in the breadline waiting to get your piece. And that's always a bad place to be. So you have to be in the driver's seat of generating your own first-party leads. And when you can do that, not only are those leads competition-proof, but your dealership becomes recession-proof in the process.
Well, and you might think, well, how is that possible? A recession hurts everybody. And that's true. A recession does hurt everybody. But when you have control over your customer flow, over your lead flow, even when times are tough, even when a recession is going on, you still, it might be harder than when it's not in a recession, but you still can control, like the dials, you can turn the dials and control the inputs and the outputs, and you can get the customer flow that you need. We worked with, in the last recession, which was a long time ago now, we worked with a lot of dealerships and helped them achieve explosive growth during the recession, specifically because they had control over their customer flow while all the other dealerships around them did not.
Yeah, and then you get that slingshot effect after the fact when things start to turn around. You not only increase naturally, but you slingshot past your competition who have been not controlling their own lead flow during that entire time. So there are multiple benefits of this. And, as we discussed, like when you're beholden to third parties for active shoppers, you're only going to get those active shoppers, and they're declining in the moment. Well, when you go and handle your own first party leads, you're not only controlling your flow of the active shoppers, you can actually expand the market and get people outside of the active shoppers to come into the dealership.
That's exactly right. And that's part of our expanded market formula, which we'll talk about on another video because, that's going to take us down a rabbit hole. But that's exactly right. You expand your marketing opportunity, expand your market using the expanded market formula, and you can multiply the size of the, universe that you're talking to.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And that's really, quite honestly, it's a very simple and straightforward thing to do. And it's available to any dealership. It's just that most dealerships aren't doing it because It's not the de facto standard, best practice, which is maybe another topic.
Sure. It goes back into shifting your mindset from being in the the business of selling cars and product and price to being in the solutions business and being in the people business. And when you in order to make the shift away from active shoppers only, you have to make that shift in your mind of what business you're actually in. So that's why I think most dealers aren't focusing on that.
Okay, so let's cover the 3 critical steps to recession-proofing your dealership, okay? The first one is you have to market direct to customers. That seems pretty basic, right? But believe it or not, most dealerships have stopped doing this by and large.
Yeah, if you're using third-party lead providers, you're not marketing directly to consumers. You're a consumer.
That's exactly right. And you're buying the customers from somebody else that has the control over it.
So there's a middleman.
There's a middleman. So you need to market and promote your dealership and deliver those messages.
Deliver your unique selling proposition, the thing that makes you different, your gravitational positioning statement, as we call it, your GPS, to your consumers, your direct consumers. And that's how you're going to control that lead flow.
Right. So you control the delivery of the message to the customers. That means that you can control how much and when and how frequently those messages run. You're not relying on somebody else. The second critical step is to provide a point of differentiation for your dealership, which Jim just sort of hinted at there.
I was hinting on that. You need to develop this statement, this gravitational positioning statement that guides people to you over all other choices in the market. Why should someone do business with you, and why are you the only and obvious choice in the market? We could spend a whole 2-hour seminar just discussing this one question, but it's critical if you're going to recession-proof your dealership to have a solid answer to that.
Well, this is really the way that you can rise to the top of the market and become, for many customers in the market, become the only and obvious choice. And when it's slim pickings, like it is during a recession, it becomes critical because there's really not enough customers to go around during that time. So it's critical. The dealerships that survive and thrive during those times are the dealerships who figure out how to gain the lion's share of the customer attention and intent. And this is how you do it, or this is the first step to doing it, is to create that point of differentiation.
Yeah, the point of differentiation, the GPS is going to create a know, like, and trust factor. And when things get tight, people are always going to go to someone that they feel comfortable with, that they feel like they can trust, that they feel like they know, and that they like to do business with. They're not going to risk taking a flyer. And that is why we have to develop that prior to the recession so that we can capitalize on that relationship once we get there. And relationships are what brings us to the third part, the third critical step to recession-proofing your dealership. Right, Jay?
That's exactly right, which is to build your database and learn how to leverage the database.
Right. The database is your relationships. That's why we call it a CRM, a customer relationship manager, right? Yeah. It's about managing these relationships with your customers, but also with prospects that you've paid for over the years, but yet haven't made and turned into a customer. These people are valuable as well, but we have to communicate that with them, and we have to communicate with them differently to build that relationship strong.
One of the most valuable assets that your business has is its database.
Yes. Okay?
And most dealerships, most dealerships now, this is different than it used to be. Most dealerships do collect customer and potential customer information in a database. So that's improved. But also most dealerships
back when we made this, our original training system, people weren't even collecting leads.
Right. And it was actually a controversial idea. It was crazy. But now what is also true is that most dealerships aren't doing anything with those customer relationships, with that database. And the thing is that, it's one of the most valuable assets your business has, but in order for it to have value, you have to keep the relationship alive, right? And the way that you do that is through constant, consistent, high quality communication with that database. And that's something that you need to start doing right now, so that when it comes time to lean on that database, like during a recession, that the database is ready to work for you, and that you're not just then getting started to cultivate. This is like, so like what we can do right now is plow and till and sow the seeds in our field so that we have a crop that we can harvest when we need it.
Hey, we'd love to know what you think about what we've been talking about today. Share your thoughts below and let us know in the comments.
We look forward to hearing from you. And in the next episode of Better Dealerships, we'll be talking about the 2 most important questions any automotive ad needs to answer.
Hey, and if you want to stay in the loop and join the conversation, go on over to our Facebook group at betterdealerships.com. betterdealerships.com.
Yeah, so my name's Travis Miller, the big idea guy.
And I'm Jimmy Vee, the 5-foot-high marketing guy. And until next time, you guys, stay classy.